Koffiestories in Bruges. I thought they only sold chocolates, beer and chocolates, beer, chocolates and lace. Hello and welcome to a new episode here in Bruges on Zetten, Coffee Zetten, setting your coffee, how to do it. Actually, Zetten is the same like set, that's why it's set to brew. And originally here in Europe, we did it just with the mortar and just stamping on it. We didn't have any kind of fancy grinders. Those came later. Were actually introduced also in the Middle East and the Ottoman Empire first. So the coffee traveled here, and then basically also the grinders were traveling here. So we ended up speaking about, setting your coffee. Now, setting comes from the same kind of etymology as sitting. Setting is actually make to sit, force something to sit, and you need to sit and wait while you're making your coffee, especially in the beginning when we didn't have any espresso. This is basically that, espresso turn everything around, and then of course you need this kind of very fine grinds, and here an electric version that you could have the pleasure of listening to. But so it's important to be patient actually when you're making your coffee, despite the Italian innovation. And ironically, they also didn't literally want to sit for it anymore, because they also took the American tradition of having a prize for drinking it at the bench and one for drinking it at a table. Here, Lance Hedrick, of course, would go crazy with all those burrs on display, only flat burrs, so they're not really paying attention to the conical, more economic burrs, basically. Flat burrs also, in my personal opinion, better suited for espressos. And well, usually you do have like manual grinders also with flat burrs now, but for me that's a little bit silly. It doesn't make too much sense. So here we're seeing the cupping that we've been introduced to, that I actually started to learn to appreciate as a means of comparing different coffee and being a very kind of standard way. And then here, of course, we see the Hario kind of filter methods. So basically, started out with the mortar and, basically just cooking the coffee, and then introducing the paper filter was really a big step, keeping out a lot of the dirt as you're kind of preparing your coffee. And the paper also really helps in keeping out any oil, and supposedly that might give you a slight health benefit, although if you keep to 3 to 5 cups a day, which is the recommended amount actually if you want to have positive benefits, then I don't really think the oils matter too much. Of course, we just saw there the portafilter for the people that want to really go into their coffees, and again a kind of a Hario styled goose neck kettle. You can find it in many variants. The mocha pot, of course, that brought espresso in a sense to the home, right? Getting this very dense beverage, and here again ending with a filter coffee. So all different ways of setting your coffee, and of course, again, espresso then being very different, having the same basic recipe of having the espresso, but then mixing it with milk and all kind of things. A little bit on the barista, which comes from English, from barman, but during Italian fascism, they wanted to Italianize it, so then there it became barista, and then that word took over the world. So basically, we're just saying barman with an Italian accent, and that's just how we grow up, like a barista. That's where you get your coffee from. And of course, if he's very skilled, he can also make some nice latte art. So that's really to round up a coffee preparation. So we saw a mix of espresso and filter based ways of setting your coffees. How do you set yours? Thanks for following, and hope to see you on the next episode.